With the Essence League starting soon, I wanted to give some general tips in terms of currency management when starting a league. This is general how to play guide and not a how to get rich quick scheme for newer players. If you're proficient at getting money already, this is likely common knowledge to you and it might not help you out at all. But if you've struggled before in the past at the beginning of the league, this might help you out. I'm going to assume that you've picked a build or you have the ability to go pick a build to farm whatever content you want or to generate currency for your other builds or if it's your main build or whatever. You should obviously not be stuck waiting around for expensive gear to progress. There are plenty of builds that can do that, and consider how cheap it is to start, how many mods it can do, and how it can handle Uber Lab and trials and all that. Most build guides out there will tell you this sort of thing, so it's up to you to figure this out. Now with the Essence League, we're getting these essences. As you might know, you can trade them up with the vendor 3 at a time to get a higher tier. At the start of the league, I'll recommend you use them immediately. Only trade them up if you want to use the next step up to craft. Since later on, higher tiered ones will drop on their own, and needing tier 1s to trade up to tier 7s will take too long and too many essences. You should use them at first, since you won't have the leveling uniques you usually have a few weeks into the league. Combining the essence with a mastercraft can give you 2 good stats on an item, which can help you get more damage, more resist, more life, and make the leveling process way easier. I think over time, when people start making more and more new characters, they'll stop picking up the low level essences and just run straight through. But at the very beginning, picking them up and using them to craft easy, good items is probably pretty helpful. Also, on a side note, keep an eye out for how rare the corrupted essences are. For example, if the essence of horror isn't rare, which is probably unlikely, crafting a helmet with this essentially makes it a 5 link for any elemental build. For an explosive arrow build, for example, this would actually be more damage than my usual 5th link of being less duration at level 20. This could even be a 6th link if I go Hierophant. Maybe get 80 to 90% mana cost reduction, use an Elrion or a Praxis ring, get a 0 mana cost EA with 40% mind over matter, get all that leech and life regen just going straight to life. Now, there are a lot of ways of making money in this game. I'm not here to rate them all. I'm not really a good judge on which is the most efficient or inefficient, and I'm probably very inefficient at it. But I still managed to make enough to be comfortable in this game. You'll want to make your character progress to the end of Merciless as quickly as possible, but while you're doing that, put leveling gear that you don't think you'll need up for sale and price it. The thing about making money in this game is it's not all about finding big ticket items and exalts and selling them most of the time. You get a lot from lots of smaller sales. Don't get me wrong, selling a super expensive item can pay for entire builds if you end up finding one. 4 out of my first 5 Pale Council runs gave me the bow, but I didn't get any more after that in like 7 runs. And I don't plan on getting that lucky again in this upcoming league. Your wealth is not just measured in chaos and exalts, you have other currency. And items with life and resist in hardcore will sell pretty easily in the league. You should price them if you want them to sell quickly. That's a general tip for generic rares and common uniques. If these appear in searches with lots of random items, they'll never be seen if they don't have a price because they'll always be at the bottom. You can get away with not pricing sought after uniques in GG rares. You should price items if you want to sell them faster. Also, keep an eye on the meta, popular streamers, and content creators. They have a huge sway on what's popular and prices of certain items, so you might as well know what the kids are up to even if you're not going to do it. Also, keep an eye out on the challenges. People will pay for items, clears, encounters, and kills for these microtransactions. Also, most importantly, keep an eye on me. I don't affect prices, I just want attention, that's all. Now, the traditional way of getting items is to go mapping. Now that the world isn't ending because we don't have to suffer the horror of getting maps we don't want sometimes, exploring the Atlas should be okay for most players. The idea is that you progress to the highest content faster than other people will likely get you better items. That's generally what helps racers out. That and their immense time playing the game on the first week. The general way of running maps involves wasting as little time as possible vendoring and waiting in hideout and spending more time killing monsters quickly. The more you kill, the more items you'll get to drop and currency, and the higher chance of you getting something good. So doing that as fast as possible is the best practice. So for this, people just roll lots of maps at first and then pop them into the map device quickly as possible and set your loot filter to highlight the stuff that you like to get, like good bases, jewelry, unique items, and currency. Now, the chaos recipe is a topic for debate for a lot of people. If you want to do it, I suggest you organize your stash tab so that it's easy to sell a full set quickly. Consider setting the amulet ring tab as public. You can occasionally get someone asking for something in there. Finding a chaos or two randomly in your inventory that you didn't know about feels pretty nice sometimes. Now, there are a lot of players trying to figure out the best strategy of which maps to complete on the Atlas. I personally haven't looked into it. I was planning on completing the Atlas as a personal goal anyway. I don't really see a need to only get the good layout maps completed on the Atlas if I'm not racing to get to 100 myself. In any case, you'll likely end up wanting to clear out all the low-level maps anyway. At a certain point in the league, you'll stop caring if your T6 map is a good layout or not, and you'll really only care about it for higher tier maps. For our current meta, it's 8 or 9, but if map drops at a higher level are more sustainable this time around, which they might be, that's where you'll actually want to set up your Atlas to only drop the good layout. On a side note, if you're a newer player and you aren't playing in hardcore, don't let people scare you from trying new things. This game has a lot of vocal players saying a lot of scary things to newer players about breaking your Atlas and all that. Don't be afraid to gain knowledge and experience. In an ARPG, that's the most important thing to gain. And as a person who plays the hardcore leagues only, I noticed that the things that used to scare me still scare a lot of people. And that often led to a lot of money-making opportunities. So don't get stuck behind because you're too scared to try out something new. Also, don't be afraid to buy and sell maps if the price is right. For some reason, players have had a hang-up about this in the past. It might change with the Atlas, but it might not. You're already spending currency rolling maps and paying for Xana to get map returns. But if you can spend less currency buying maps instead of just rolling them, it might be a good option to have. You'll have to judge this based on how easy it is to sustain maps now with the Atlas. But don't discount it as an option. Buying and selling maps has always been a viable way of mapping. Now, if you don't want to go the mapping route and just want to go to straight farming currency and content, that's always an option. Farming at Ziri early on is definitely helpful for a lot of people if you make a character that's immediately going to be able to do it cheaply. Farming the highest possible content such as Uber at Ziri and the Guardians and Shaper doesn't happen very early in the league. Farming these usually requires buying keys and maps in order to get them, so you'd need a good part of the player base to have access to them and be willing to actually sell them. You can have fun magic finding if you don't care about XP per hour. The typical strategy with magic finding is split farming, basically picking a boss that's easy to get to like Vol or Dominus, setting up a group of fast runners with high damage to carry you, stacking as much item rarity and quantity gear, and having culling strike so that you get the kill for the group. Have the group basically open up all their own instances and rush to the boss, going through the portals one by one and getting the 6-man quantity of killing the boss. Don't count on getting big ticket items all the times through this. The mentality is similar to mapping, where the quicker you can kill the bosses, the more loot you end up getting. You can also take the magic finding character into lower tier maps with high quantity and getting loot that way. The reason why it usually doesn't go into higher content is you need more defenses than your magic finding gear would allow you, unless you have a really good supporting group. Uberlab this past league was incredibly profitable, especially early on. It might not be as profitable as it was when it was introduced, but if you're one of the first to be able to do it, you should be good for farming. You'll need to be able to farm maps for trials, though. Consider buying the Dream Trial Prophecies if they're still available. And also join the global channel 820 for people sharing their trials on there. While you're at it, consider a carrying service. Aside from carrying through just labs on each difficulty in Uber Lab, you can also carry for Cruel Malachi, Merciless Piety, and Dom. They sell regularly, and as usual, there's a challenge for killing Merciless Malachi, and when this happens, people will pay for Kaum, Duresso, Piety, and Malachi kills, and you can charge other currency beside Chaos for these, and the more people you end up getting, you can generate lots of little currency really quickly. You can also consider a master crafting service if you don't hate grinding them. Prophecies are now a part of the game, and you can have all masters in the largest hideout. So that might help you out this time around. Go to Global 820, do rotations, get people's free shared masters, maybe buy master missions on trade and their prophecies. That should help you get to 8 quicker, and if you get to 8 quickly before most people, you can charge for the service for the higher end crafts, which people might want to do with the current essences. Other than that, just be smart about spending your money. Don't roll multiple characters early on and split your money between them. Don't waste time rolling rares when you can just buy a good, cheap, leveling unique, or use an essence to make an easy one. In hardcore, you have to weigh the potential of gaining power and safety with losing all that currency when you die. So be smart about big purchases. Now, you have a lot of options, so the last thing I'll say, and this is an obvious cliche, is to have fun. Getting rich is fun on its own, but it's not necessary to be the 100% most efficient at doing it to enjoy playing this game or to be comfortable in a league. And from personal experience, getting currency just for the sake of it and hoarding it was never as fun as spending it on weird builds and trying new things. Whatever you end up doing, good luck out there.